So I am recording off of my phone because I went to go set up my microphone, my nice microphone, and it literally doesn't reach here. The cable is too short. So that's unfortunate. Today's video has probably a good 40% chance that I will miss the deadline for Project 30. So if I want that to happen, if I want to be able to meet the deadline, there's a very good chance that I will have to not edit this video at all, which means that this video is going to be pretty raw. It's going to be very open. It's going to be very transparent. At least that's my intention. I have been doing these things called solo casts for a little while, off and on, and the intention is that I basically just do a solo podcast, but this one, it never had a name, a proper name, and the intention was that I would speak as truthfully, as authentically, as raw as I can, as if no one's going to hear it, no one's going to watch it. Mostly because when I first started it, I created this audio recording, basically venting at myself, just sharing my frustrations about where I was at in life at the time. And it wasn't until about halfway through that I realized that it could be worth sharing some of these. And a friend actually really appreciated and really valued that very first one. And ever since then, I've been a little bit more open to sharing more of the kind of raw, authentic, and not worrying about editing it too much, like leaving all the blank spaces, like the 2 minutes of silence of me thinking about an answer and reconnecting to my heart. So that's what this one's going to be. So I won't go into that too much more. I'm going to jump straight into things because I know that the longer this video gets, the longer the export will be, and the more likely it is that I will not be able to even export it in time for it to be uploaded. I tried to take some notes to keep myself concise. There's already more notes than I thought, so the core seed that kind of prompted this is I was feeling really frustrated today because I've been basically... I'm acknowledging that there is a 95% chance that I have an addiction to the internet. And it wasn't until this year that I've actually started using that language for myself. I thought I was just distracted, procrastinating, whatever. Also remember, I should probably keep it quiet, keep myself quiet because it's past 1 in the morning. So I have this frustration of myself for being addicted to the internet. I am labeling it as an addiction specifically because I recognize that it is negatively impacting many parts of my life at this point. And in the previous shorts that I had recorded in part of this Unstuck In 30 challenge, Project 30, is that I want to do a digital detox, a internet detox, social media detox, whatever. And I did it for 24 hours, I did it for 6 hours, and I wanted to do it for 48 hours, but I recognize that I think it's time to jump straight into the 7-hour thing. And I haven't picked a date for it, but I want to do it this month. So within the next basically 3 weeks. So after this clip, this recording, I'm going to set up the calendar and pick a week to do that, a week or longer. And I'm not doing it now just because I don't want to dedicate this time to sitting on the calendar to schedule that, but that's typically what I would do on these recordings. So yeah, frustration at my inability to stay focused, my inability to prioritize work, my inability to pull myself away from the tabs. I always have 15, 20 tabs open at any given moment. One tab has got 400 saved tabs. My bookmark bar is thousands at this point. Some of those are intentional saves, but there's a good at least 1,000 or 2 of things that I've saved on the internet on YouTube videos to watch, etc. that I intend to watch. They captivate my interest a little bit, but because I'm so aimless in my life, I don't feel like I have a strong driving calling. The YouTube thing is kind of the one little anomaly in that statement where it does feel like that kind of draws my attention a little bit more. And not having a clear focus, a clear goal, a clear compelling direction to move in, a clear thing that I want to work on, has made it difficult for me to filter out a lot of the YouTube videos that I'm saving for later because they all seem interesting. They all seem like they could be relevant. They seem like they could all be helpful in some way. And some of them are, for sure. But I'd say probably 80 or 90% of them I could probably just like wipe off the face of the earth, because if I had a compelling vision, it'd be easier for me to recognize, okay, these might be useful to some aspect of my life, but they're only like 10% useful. And what would be 90% useful for me, valuation wise, would be to focus on working on a YouTube video, or watching this tutorial about DaVinci Resolve, or watching some of the content in Creator Now. Like, it's just like so scattered. And like, there was a thought that I just had, and I tried not to tangent, but the cost of me staying on task means I've lost the tangent. There it is. Okay. See, this is why I value silence and like allowing myself to slow down and calm, is like I can eventually circle around back to myself, either through calm silence or, talking through things until it like, there it is. But like when I am not doing these solo cast approach and I'm feeling like I have to hit all the bullets, I have to stick to the script, I have to blah, blah, blah. I have to, like, my mind gets so frantic, like I'm basically performing in a way, and like then I don't get to be my authentic self. I don't get to like honor that I have maybe a slower processing communication style than maybe the average person. And that makes it difficult in conversations, is because sometimes me taking 5 seconds to like process my thoughts is usually interpreted as like someone like thinking, oh, he's done, okay, now let me start talking. But I never actually got to speak my point, because I'm still like loading screen or loading bar in my brain, which wasn't the tangent. It's a tangent on a tangent. I am ultimately feeling very dissatisfied and disinterested in the short form content that I've been putting out. I think it's been useful for me to go through the process that I've been doing, but as far as like forward moving, I have very little interest in continuing to do shorts. And that's not to say that I won't do shorts. It's just speaking it out that I don't like the process. I mean, that doesn't feel accurate. It doesn't feel worthwhile anymore to continue doing shorts. There are aspects of it that I do enjoy. There are some benefits to it, but I am finding, because I'm waiting so last minute. So here, let me dial it back a little bit. So I think the reason I'm not liking shorts, aside from waiting till the last minute to work on them, is that sometimes my thoughts and the ideas that I have literally does not fit in 60 seconds. And there might be some things that do, and it might continue to be a good testing ground or playground for me to practice keeping things short and succinct. Can I take my thoughts and actually like squish it down to 60 seconds? Like maybe some of my ramblings, like maybe 80% of this video is going to be mostly rambling that isn't super critical, but maybe it's still helpful to like do. Feeling, at least for now, done with doing shorts. And this is where like this whole kind of thought train has been going with this video so far, is I'm feeling drawn to creating like more intentional videos, but I don't have the ability to do some of them, because some of the videos I want to do will take more than a few days to create. Like some of them, like doing the 7-day digital detox, will require me to do that for 7 days. But like during those 7 days, it's not like I can't recap the whole experience in 60 seconds before I've even done the experience. So there's like a handful of experiences I want to have like that. Maybe it's a 24-hour thing, maybe it's a 7-day thing, but I have to have done that experience already before I can create content around it. I have to be recording throughout that process. I have to kind of plan out some of that process before I can create a piece of content for it. But right now, like if I'm just thinking of today, I have not done the experience, but I need to get a video out in the next hour and a half or less. I don't need to look at the time. I just need to finish this. So currently, because of the daily video process and the way that I'm doing it so far in my procrastination tendencies, I don't actually get to experiment with the video ideas that I want to have that will take multiple days to then have a thing to share like 7 days later. It's like I'd have to work on just pushing something out. the consistency component of putting a video out, that's probably the most helpful part of this experiment so far. It's like, I know there's immense growth through this, even through doing this one where it might be no edits. I might just take the literal raw file and just upload it straight to YouTube, not even worry about attaching the audio. We'll see. Just based on time constriction. And I hate doing that. Like, I would rather edit it. I'd rather it be more useful to the potential viewer. I'd rather it be able to know what the essence of the video is so that I know what to title it, so that I can kind of, maybe there's a hope that it will get seen by the YouTube algorithm and it'll be shown to people that might value this kind of authentic communication and just sharing my experiences, and might get something out of my shares that will inspire something for them, for you to move on and do something in your own life. Maybe there's a little seed. And I think that's one of the reasons why I'm so drawn to watching so many YouTube videos, is usually there's one seed in one of those videos that inspires me to kind of shift things. Today I was listening to probably my all-time favorite internet human, Derek Sivers, and have a whole thing of journaling of just some stuff that I was extracting from a podcast of his where he was on Tim Ferriss's show, and just these little things that are, I know will be really helpful for me to take forward into my life. So I was journaling on that today, and that for me is a good example of really intentional content that I don't mind using the internet for. So in my bookmark bar, I have a queue folder, queue as in pending, and there's probably 500 videos in there now, even though it was empty 2 weeks ago. And I try to keep the most important ones that are most relevant and exciting to me right now at the top, so that I watch those first. And I've been doing really good at when I have 10-15 minutes to watch something, I try and go to the queue, and then I see this huge list, and I remind myself, go back to the top of the list. There is something at the top of this list that is the top 1% of content out of all 500 of these. And there's a couple of videos like that up there. So that has probably been a really helpful tool for me currently, is moving things to the top, making it very clear that these are the top 3 things I'm watching right now. And my goal is to continue to find those things and kind of push aside everything else that is not the most relevant, the most useful piece of content for myself. So that's a good use of the internet. That I don't mind. I feel I don't know if I'm getting off track, or if this all still feels significant for myself. Because all this was just essentially documentation. That's okay. This is why I don't mind taking notes. Sometimes. My brain is going in different directions. So, what I sense for myself, kind of factoring in some of the ideas that I've experienced, or the benefits I've experienced, and the observations from doing this 30-day thing so far, is that I don't have a clear idea of what my channel is going to be about, and that makes it really difficult to create content in a way that I can target towards a specific audience of people that might benefit from it, or that that I can serve in some way. That is very much an intention and a goal, but I'm struggling because I haven't found that yet. So I am trying. I think this is the direction I'm going right now, is that I am kind of acknowledging and accepting that I'm in season 0 or season 1 of this channel, and already judging that, because it's I've done kind of videos like this before, where it's just kind of talking to the camera, vlog attempts, and that's on a completely different channel. It's unrelated to this one, and it's do I count that one or not? That's me overthinking. So the point is that season 0/1, let's call it season 1. Season 1 of the channel for me, I think, is learning to find my voice and learning to get more comfortable with self-expression, getting more comfortable with just talking through my thoughts, and getting more practice with being as raw, transparent, authentic, and accepting that there might still be a good chance that I'm 200 videos away from discovering my voice, discovering what my audience is, discovering kind of like the next level of my focus with this channel. And that it might take me a while of doing things like this, of like documenting in this like raw manner where I'm at, using it as a way of like sorting myself out. That's like a big theme that's coming up, and just kind of documenting my process of, becoming more of a sovereign individual, someone who is able to make decisions for himself, because this feels like a really big lacking theme for me right now. Is like I'm not taking responsibility for components of my life, like large parts of my life. And there are little like glimpses, little bursts of like moments where I do make significant progress, and like I'm not discrediting that, but it feels like the 70-80% of my day is like going to waste, essentially, because I'm just like so consumed by the internet. I don't have that like willpower and discipline to really step away and honor. I am so overstimulated. I'm easily highly sensitive person. So it's, these things are like basically like squishing me to death, and I'm not pulling myself away from that. And the more that I'm plugged in an unhealthy way, I think there can be healthy ways of being plugged in, and that's like the goal, to get myself to that space. I'm hoping that a digital detox will help me with that, a very aggressive one. Yeah, so all of this is, I think, season one, I think for myself, is just like throwing out all of the need to do all of the YouTube things right, and just like keep talking, like keep documenting, develop this like track record of like my growth to becoming more disciplined, more like taking more responsibility for myself, like sorting myself out, learning to use my voice, learning how to communicate better, learning how, like, what my even like interests in life are. Like I feel like so much like a like sailless boat in the ocean. Like I don't know where I'm going. I have no wind in the sails because I don't even have a sail. There's like no north star in the sky for me to like go towards. And it's like strangely one of the only things that's been most helpful is just like literally talking to this piece of glass and the camera, or this microphone. And I think ultimately it's because I'm like finally stepping away from all the inputs, all the stimulation, and I'm actually getting to have a conversation with myself. I actually get to, like, my antenna isn't overburdened with all the radio signals from the outside, and I've changed the frequency and the sensitivity in such a way that I'm only hearing like what's happening in my own head and heart. And that, I feel, is the like biggest calling that I'm having right now. It's like that feels like the next big major step in my life. 70 minutes. This video is not going to be 70 minutes. It's 70 minutes until upload. So even though I share that season one for me might be essentially just a lot of this kind of thing, being as raw, authentic, transparent, truthful. It's kind of coincidental that I'm wearing the Hail Lobster Cleaner Room Tell the Truth shirt. It's kind of hard to show. I don't know if you can see it super well. Anyway, so even though it feels like I'm still kind of drawn to doing this kind of thing, or I want to experiment with this kind of thing, I also very much want to experiment with like more intentional videos, like the 7-day digital detox video. Like I want that, for me, feels like the video that I want to put like the most amount of effort into, and it's going to require a little bit of planning ahead of time to kind of, figure out at least the topics that I want to cover, or what things I might need to capture, vlog style or B-roll or graphics, anything like that. Like I want that one to be more intentional, but that one's going to require a lot more effort. So it's not like something I can just whip out of the blue. And it's going to require some knowledge and awareness of what footage I absolutely will need through that experience as I capture it. So that's an example. But like just trying lots of other creative ideas and just kind of discovering what kind of things I like and what kind of things I don't, compared to kind of like this thing right now where it's like I just have to upload something. I need to meet my deadline for the week or for the day, and I just have to like sit in front of the camera, word vomit for a bit, and then maybe edit it and then upload it, and like super low production value, minimal effort, but just kind of accepting that this is something that I'm doing more for self-expression, more for the consistency, like check mark on the box. It might be useful more towards people that I know that are very close to me and love to hear my insights, but maybe not so much for the greater audience of YouTube, because like the likelihood of them like sticking around this long, it's going to be very, very low. So it's a combination, this style and the intentional style. And like, I'm thinking of how can this format exist for the rest of this 30-day challenge? Can I just do something like this every single day? Maybe. Like maybe that would be worthwhile. Maybe it would be a training ground for podcast episodes. Like maybe I'll find my podcasting voice on solo episodes as a result of doing something like this, where maybe I keep them down to like 15, 20 minutes and I have the audio in case I want to use audio only, and I have the video if I want to upload it on YouTube, or I create some sort of looping graphic to use as a video instead of a camera thing, and then just let it be an audio thing on YouTube. I don't know, but maybe that's a reason I'm feeling drawn to this kind of format. I don't know. I'm just so in my head about like, if I do it this way, like no one's gonna watch, and like I keep telling myself the biggest benefit of this stage right now is not that people are watching and not that I'm growing an audience, but also accepting that from an ego standpoint, human standpoint, or whatever. Like I don't think it's wrong to desire cultivating a community of people that resonate with things that I share, or like ways that I can help other people. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But for myself, that's not number one on the list. But still in the back of my mind, it's like, well, if I don't have a good title, if I don't have a good thumbnail, if I don't have a good topic, if I don't know who the audience is for, I don't like, overthinking all of that. And that I know is not helpful at this stage. If explicitly I don't know what my core message is from a channel standpoint, or even for an individual video standpoint. So that's where I think the split is. It's like when I hit record, I don't necessarily know what the end result is going to be. And maybe that's just like the version, maybe those are the videos that are going to be more for me and the super close inner circle friends. And then the other one is the one that I already know what the title and the message of the video is, and I'm crafting a piece of art or a piece of content or a message around that. And that is the one that I'm creating less for me and more for someone that might specifically benefit from it. So I think having that distinction for myself, the overthinking part is the channel, quote unquote, going to do worse because I'm doing both instead of only option number 2 of targeting the very specific people and having very specific concepts. And for me, that's like so far down the road that I shouldn't even be worrying about that right now, when I don't have the clear North Star yet. And even some of the people that I really admire on YouTube, it's like they went through similar things too. It's like they tried a lot of different things. Like I think of Cody Wanner, for example. Like I think he mentioned it took him 117 days of daily vlogging, like 6, 7, 10-minute vlogs every day before he had any semblance of what his message on YouTube was and like what his voice was. And that's the kind of camp that I feel like I'm in right now as well. And I'm judging myself because I know that the amount of effort that I'm putting into this one video is much, much lower than maybe what Cody Wanner was doing on his daily vlogs. Like, so I think that is a seed of interest that maybe not necessarily daily vlogs, but like, can I put more effort into like the capturing? Like if I'm going to do this kind of thing on a daily basis for the rest of this challenge, this 30-day thing, like maybe it means that I wake up in the morning and the first thing I do is think about, what is my message today? What am I vlogging today? What is the silly work thing that I need to get done? And I'm just going to talk about through that. Like I tried one like that on April 17th. That's one of the other videos that I posted during this challenge. And that was helpful, but I was like, it wasn't the most interesting that I put out. But continuing to do something like that, like putting in a little bit more effort, I think that's kind of ultimately what it is. It's like I don't want to just like hit record, talk, stop the recording, and upload it straight to YouTube. That to me it feels like I'm doing the bare minimum. And I want to be able to do more than the bare minimum. But today, that's what we're doing, the bare minimum. Which I guess I'm doing more than that because I'm already talking for like 20 minutes. And I could have just done like a 60-second ramble and a really fast cut. I don't know. I'm overthinking this now. What is my closing thought? Because I know my camera's about to turn off in probably like 3 minutes. So I guess to kind of close that out, there is that draw to like a more intentional, like waking up in the morning, figure out what my message is going to be that day. If I want to do maybe more of a vlog style thing, and maybe it's just like 2 or 3 clips total throughout the entire day. And maybe it is just me kind of learning to capture more of my thoughts as I'm going throughout my day. It feels weird because it's like I'm just in this room all the time and I don't really go out to go do things, but maybe I could, or maybe I find more interesting ways to capture my thoughts in a more visually interesting way. Or maybe I just let it be simple and I just like set my camera down and I just talk to it. Like, here's what I'm doing today. And the next clip is me like talking about I'm halfway through the thing. This is what I got done today. And like the third one is maybe like this is what I did today. And I did this and I did not do that. And finding some kind of core message. I think that's ultimately what it is. It's like I want there to be some sort of like core message or core takeaway through any video that I'm creating. And sometimes I don't know what that is until I'm in the edit or until I'm done with the day. And that will be a new frontier with editing, which there's so many more new things that I want to try and learn and practice with when it comes to video creation that I'm learning through Creator Now's bootcamp with Yes Theory. But I don't want to say I can't, but it's difficult for me to do that right now because I am specifically doing daily videos and I'm like running right up to the deadline when I start. That like I don't have time to even think about that. It's like just hit publish, like hit record, hit publish, hit record, hit publish. I don't have time to think about like story and messaging and titling and blah blah blah. All right, last thoughts. I wrote coming back to why. So I think this is just kind of summarizing season 1 for myself, which is ultimately kind of a documentation process, self-discovery process, self-therapy, sharing my insights, sharing my experiences, and occasionally working on making more intentional stories, more intentional videos around ideas or things I've done. So experiences, I guess, or just concepts and whatnot. But I think it's more important for me to focus on just continuing to be engaged in this process, because it feels like one of the very few most life-giving things for me right now, even if it doesn't make sense necessarily to like in a like on paper, and even though there's like other things I need to address in life, like this still feels like one of the things that is more helpful. Oh, my camera's turned off. Can we start again? Okay. This feels like one of the more useful things for me to be doing. I know it's not the only thing I should be doing, but it definitely feels like it's creating more momentum in my life than most other things. And I think the more that I can be engaged in this process, the more helpful it will be. And that was the last thought. I just realized how weird it probably is to like be holding my phone like this the whole time. Kind of looks like I'm like filming you. Last thoughts. Let's wrap it up. All in all, I feel like this chapter that I'm in right now is learning to positively channel the frustration that I'm having, the discontent that I'm experiencing, into new action, into new choices. 2, that feels like cultivating more of this like alone time, which is weird because it's like I know I'm publishing this, so it's not like fully alone. It's not like this true private experience, but in this like current experience that I'm in, like in the room right now, everyone's asleep. I'm just by myself. I'm like technically the audio recording could glitch out, the video recording could glitch out, and I still had this communicative experience, this like processing experience by myself, for myself. So it's coming back to like getting grounded with myself, feeling like I'm more in communication with myself and my heart. And I know that when I'm in this state, like there's a lot more momentum that happens compared to when I'm like connected to the internet and not using it as a tool and using it, letting it kind of use me essentially. God, I feel like there's still like one last nugget, like a sense of incompletion, if I just end it here. What is the message I need to communicate to myself? Because sometimes I feel like the messages that might be helpful to share to you, like the content that I create to you, are just my communications from me spoken to myself. Like me talking to Austin, but using you language in a way that, like, if I trim out everything else and I just left this part, that to me I feel like might, in some aspect, in some pieces of content, might be the most useful thing for me to share. Because it might be the one that lands the deepest when I'm speaking to you. I'm speaking to you. The only thing that's really coming up for me right now, I'm going to communicate to you, as in you, Austin, and you, whoever this might resonate with. You have recognized that there is a feeling of discontent in terms of how you are living your day to day. There are still beautiful moments, still beautiful connections. You're still doing good things, still making some progress in various areas. But you recognize that there is a significant portion of how you're spending your life right now that is not fruitful, it is not fulfilling. And I think it's important and helpful to acknowledge that as you are now and to continue drawing awareness to that. The states of frustration, depression, and anxiety might be signals rather than being sources of the misery itself. And by that I mean, and this is not to discredit actual issues with anxiety, depression, stress, all the things, like that might still be a component of this equation, but I think that there's probably at least 70 or 80% of the depression that I'm feeling, the anxiety that I'm feeling, that is a result of the way that I'm living my life right now. And it's difficult to navigate this because I know you are still finding your voice, you're still finding your interests in life, and maybe you struggle like actually accepting and acknowledging the goals or the interests that you have. Maybe you are devaluing it for some reason. Not for some reason, there's probably lots of reasons, but for whatever reason you are devaluing or not giving yourself the grace to accept some of the interests that you have. And in doing so, by not identifying and accepting the things that you're interested in, you are now not feeling engaged and pulled towards anything. And it's in that process that you now start to procrastinate. At least this is my observation, my theory. As you start to prioritize and choose things and make those like more difficult decisions to say no to certain things and say yes to the forward moving things, the YouTube stuff, the whatever your project is, the more momentum you'll feel, the more fulfillment you'll feel because you're saying yes to the things that actually do matter to your heart and soul. And from there, you'll start to feel that sense of progression and that sense of fulfillment will start to build up. And it's my theory that some, if not most, but perhaps not all, of the anxiety and depression will start to fizzle away. So remember that those discontent feelings, those are signals, not sources. Secondly, remember that there are seasons and chapters to life as well. Just as you spoke on season 1 of the YouTube channel being a very exploratory stage, a very try a bunch of shit and see what happens, find your voice through using it approach. Recognize that perhaps you are moving from one season of life into the next, and that is going to require some new ways of living, some new beliefs, some new lifestyle changes, some changes in activities. some of which might mean reducing or eliminating it completely from your life and adding small amounts or adding big amounts of other things. Some radical changes and some minor changes. And I think you know what some of those activities are, specifically like gaming and watching a lot of YouTube. Those are probably two of the biggest culprits right now, where it's not that the need is to eliminate them completely, but the calling might be to drastically reduce them. Like maybe it's not a daily thing that needs to happen. Maybe it's like once or twice a week, or maybe doing some of these activities specifically with friends, or, things like that. Like an earlier season of my life might have allowed itself for a lot of gaming time and a lot of YouTube time. And this discontent feeling that you're experiencing, the frustration that you're feeling, comes because it's a signal that you're not feeling fulfilled right now. And those things are not fulfilling you right now. And it's understandable. It makes sense why you're still holding on to those. It's like it worked in the past. It's comfortable. It's an easy option that keeps you from choosing and doing the harder things, the more uncomfortable things. But as you enter the next season of life, I think you know that it's going to be time to start making those difficult decisions, to say no to things that aren't helping you anymore. Maybe they were useful before, but in this new chapter, new season, new lifestyle, there is not a place for those things, or at least not as big of a place. Like maybe they get a spot on the shelf, but not a spot on the desk. So continue to reflect on what the new season is asking of you, and reflect on what things do not belong in the season you're going to. Like if you are entering the new season on a blank slate, and maybe you're picking out a few things of directions to go, goals you want to set, desires you want to cultivate or move towards, and you're bringing nothing from the past season, the past lifestyle, the past habits, the past identities, the past beliefs, labels, all the things, like those are just left. You put them back on the shelf. You took them back to the store. Like you returned them. And now you have like this the whole Matrix moment of like all the rows of guns or whatever flying by you, and you have all the options in the world. You took all of your identities and all of your labels, all of your desires and all the things, and put them back on the shelf for just a moment. And you're stepping into this new season. You have a whole backpack that can carry things. And you look at this store of infinite options. Which ones are still relevant to you? 80% of the things you're doing now might still follow you into the new season, but a good 20% of them might not. And if we think about the 80-20 rule, those 20% of things that you might not actually need to bring into the next season might be taking 80% of your energy today. So by getting rid of like 5, 10, 15, 20% of activities, in my case, YouTube video watching, and set them on the shelf, that's going to free up 80% of your energy. 80% of my energy is just getting sucked by the fucking internet right now, and my poor use and my poor discipline around it. So that's one of the things I want to leave on the shelf and not to put back in my backpack as I enter the next season. And also, as I'm saying all this, recognizing that it's going to be a process. Like, the likelihood of me being able to black and white overnight this kind of change is pretty slim, but hopefully with doing things like a digital detox and finding ways to continue cultivating better work ethic habits might start to chip away at that a lot faster. So this ended up being a lot longer than I was anticipating. I genuinely wanted this to be like 10 minutes or less. So this will be a really interesting solo cast episode to put on the YouTube channel and publish live publicly for the first time. So solo cast wise is probably like episode 6, but I don't know if it'll be a solo cast episode. I don't know. We'll see. We'll figure it out in the edit. But it'll be very interesting for me to actually put this video on the YouTube channel because it's the one that's going to be the least edited and the most like raw and authentic as possible. I won't have time to literally like go through all 45 minutes of this before I upload. Like I literally have to plug it in, transfer it, maybe export, and publish without even like listening to any of it. Oh my god, that's stressing me out. All right. Thank you for watching or listening if you made it this far. I appreciate it. If you enjoyed this kind of video, I'd love it if you would let me know either in the comments or a private message, and specifically why you enjoyed it. Like what was it about this very long format video that was helpful for you? Because I'm way in my head about what's the value of this to anyone else. And I know there can be nuggets that can be gained out of hearing other people's experiences. But yeah, I think it's more just getting insight as to what someone might get out of it specifically. And it could be just this episode, these rambles. Like, was there one talking point that really landed for you? What is something that like you feel kind of inspired to do, if that was relevant, or if there's something about this format, this approach that you really liked? I would love to know. So thank you.